When it comes to games, it's usually difficult for me to succinctly describe my feelings about them in a single sentence, let alone a single word. But Gris is different. Gris is catharsis. At its core, this is the story of a girl dealing with grief. Gris, the title, refers to both the protagonist and the only color she perceives the world to be painted in, grey. Dealing with a painful experience in her life, she goes on a journey to put her broken self back together, to paint the sorrows of her life away, to finally bring color back to her faded reality. In Gris, your objective is to navigate through beautifully crafted vistas while solving puzzles to gain pieces of Gris's broken self back, slowly bringing color back to the grey wasteland that her world starts off with. The colors here represent the different stages of grief. As for the pieces that you gather throughout these stages, they help her navigate by granting her strength in the form of either new abilities that aid her traversal potential or serving as, quite literally, bridges between the different stages. The abilities that she gains are the key to progression. One of them lets you toughen up and solidify yourself as an immovable heavy block, for instance. You can then either use it to stop yourself from being blown away in case you're being pushed back by strong winds, or use the additional weight you've gained to smash through breakable obstacles. The game will also sometimes need you to use your momentum to push specific stuff down. This is basically how the game creatively applies the use of a single ability to multiple use cases. You have to settle down and be patient, break things, soar through the skies, and sometimes even commit to jumps on platforms that don't exist yet. It's very simple stuff, but well done. The game often requires either you to be using these abilities directly or using a combination of them with a game mechanic introduced specifically in that level. I do remember getting stuck on a few puzzles here and there, but the game gives you a few visual and or oral cues almost every time there's a need for it. Just the devs nudging you that tiny bit towards the solution for the puzzle, to prevent frustration, but never to the extent that it makes you feel like they're spoon feeding you. But yes, getting back to the central theme of the game and how it all really ties together as a cohesive whole, let's talk about the pieces that you collect. When you've collected enough of the pieces that you hunt down throughout the individual stage, it helps her form a complete understanding of that phase of grief she's dealing with. And she lets her repressed emotions out. Enough for her to finally move on to deal with the next stage. There's a good reason why this is titled Gris, Thematic and Audiovisual Catharsis. Catharsis, by definition, is the process of releasing strong or repressed emotions and thereby providing relief from it. And throughout the 3 hour or so runtime of the game, thematically you're doing exactly that. It isn't just limited to that, of course. Gris is, as the title clearly indicates, an audiovisual masterpiece. Every single frame being drawn on your screen is a sight to behold. Every motion ever so graceful. And when you combine it with the stunning soundtrack by Berlinist, it turns into one of the most beautiful gaming experiences out there. It looks and sounds so damn pretty that it could even be a cathartic experience for anyone. Even if you're not particularly upset or repressing strong emotions at the time, just the sheer beauty at display here would still probably end up affecting you in a powerful way. All the thematic depth and audiovisual beauty wouldn't help the game if it wasn't really fun to play though. Since, this is a game at the end of the day. But thankfully, the creators of the game at Nomada Studio seem to definitely have known what they were doing when they designed this game. And that's because Gris is really fun to play. The abilities that Gris gains shake up the gameplay experience of the different sections you go through, and there's no chance of monotony ever setting in when there's so much variation at play. Which is further helped by its short runtime, which on an average lasts about 3 to 4 hours. Other than the powers, Gris keeps it relatively simple. While no section is ever anything more than exploration, platforming, and simple puzzle solving, that's all that's really needed in my opinion. All in all, I would say if you want to play a super tight platformer for the thrill of it, Gris really isn't the game for you. nor is it one for those that expect the puzzles to really make you go big brain time. All it really aims for is for the overall experience to feel good and be fun to play while looking jaw-droppingly exquisite and being extremely orally pleasing to hear. Also, lest we forget, it is at its core basically an attempt at telling the story of a person dealing with grief and coming out of the entire experience as a much stronger person. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is something it manages to do with flying colors.